Welcome back, everyone. Tonight's tale is not for the faint of heart. If you're listening in the dark, you might want to turn on a light. This is a story about a Ouija board found where it never should have been, and the entity that came through when it was used. What began as a harmless curiosity turned into a nightmare that still haunts those involved to this day. So settle in, dim the lights, and prepare yourself for the board in the attic. People tell you that nothing good comes from a Ouija board. Everyone hears the warnings. Never play alone. Always say goodbye. Never ask certain questions. But nobody ever explains why those rules exist until it's too late. This is a story about 3 college friends, an old house, and a board that should have stayed hidden. And if you think you'd never make the same mistakes they did, just wait. My name is Lucas, and when I agreed to house sit for my aunt, I had no idea that something was already waiting inside her walls. Her house, an old Victorian place squeezed between 2 newer homes, had always felt strange to me growing up. I used to think it was just the age of the place. Settling boards, drafty rooms, the faint scent of mothballs, and dust that clung to every tapestry. But this time, the house felt different, as if it were holding its breath the moment I stepped inside. I was staying for 1 week while my aunt visited her sister out of state. She left a list of chores, the Wi-Fi password, and a warning I'd always thought was a joke. If you hear anything in the attic, don't go looking for it. The first night was quiet. Too quiet, honestly. I heard the wall clock ticking louder than usual, and the pipes groaned with each gust of autumn wind. By the second night, the scratching began. Faint, like something dragging lightly across the attic floorboards. I tried to ignore it, told myself it was mice. By the third night, the sounds had changed. Slow, deliberate footsteps. And once, something that sounded like a whisper pressed directly against the attic floor above my bed. I should have listened to the warning. I should have called my aunt. I should have left, but I didn't. Instead, on the 4th night, I invited 2 friends over, Megan and Connor, thinking maybe I was just spooking myself by being alone in a creaky old house. Turns out, I did the worst thing possible. I shared the sounds with them. Maybe it's a raccoon, Connor said as he set down his backpack and stretched. Or a possum. These old houses are full of wildlife. Megan rolled her eyes. Possums don't whisper, genius. We listened together from the living room. Sure enough, within minutes, the footsteps started up again, rhythmic, packing from one side of the attic to the other. Dude, Connor whispered, that's not an animal. That's a person walking. A chill crawled up my spine. Megan walked toward the attic ladder, her curiosity beating out any sense of caution. Let's just check it out. I want proof before I freak out. I don't think that's a good idea, I said. My aunt always said, but Megan was already pulling the fold-down ladder from the ceiling. Dust rained down, and the old hinges screeched like something waking up. after a long sleep. She took one step up the ladder before freezing. She wasn't looking at us. She was staring up into the darkness. "What?" I asked. Megan swallowed. There's a board up here." "A what?" "A Ouija board." The attic was suffocatingly hot and smelled of cedar, dust, and something mildew-sweet. The old Ouija board sat in the center of the attic floor, completely clean, no dust, no cobwebs, no debris, almost like someone had placed it there moments earlier. But the rest of the attic was thick with dust. "Why would your aunt have this?" Megan asked, brushing her fingers across the letters. "It looks old, like really old. My aunt would never touch something like this," I said. "She gets freaked out by horror movies." There was a soft tap from the far corner of the attic. All three of us spun. Nothing there, just shadows shifting between old furniture and aged trunks. "Let's go back downstairs," I said. "We shouldn't mess with this." But the board had already hooked its claws into my friend's curiosity. "Come on," Connor said. "We'll just try one question. One for the fun of it." Megan nodded eagerly. "It'll be like those weird videos online." I hesitated. Everything in me screamed don't. But if I refused, they'd dismiss me as being scared. So I agreed. We sat in a circle around the board, our phones on the ground beside us to film, just in case. The attic lights flickered above us, buzzing faintly. The air felt heavy, like the space itself was leaning closer to listen. "Okay," Connor said. Everyone touched the planchette. We placed our fingers lightly atop the wooden pointer. It felt colder than it should have been. Is there a spirit here with us? Nothing happened. We waited 10 seconds, 20. "See," I said, "nothing." The planchette twitched beneath our fingertips, very lightly, like something brushing against it from below. "What the hell?" Megan whispered. Then it started sliding, smoothly, deliberately. "Yes." My heart hammered against my ribs. "That was you," I said. "No," Megan breathed. "No, I swear." The attic light flickered, humming loudly before dimming. "Ask something else," Connor said, voice trembling more than he wanted us to notice. Megan swallowed. "Who are you?" The planchette paused, then drifted across the board, one letter at a time. "Mother." "Mother?" Connor asked. "What is that supposed to mean?" The planchette moved again before any of us touched it. "Not your mother." A cold wind rippled across the attic, though none of the windows were open. My breath caught in my throat. "Okay," I said, "let's stop." But the planchette slid rapidly to another phrase before we could remove our hands. "Take me." "What does that mean?" Megan whispered. The planchette moved again. "Trade." The attic temperature dropped so sharply that our breath fogged the air. I stood abruptly. "We're done. Goodbye." The board did not care. The planchette jerked violently under our hands, refusing to let go. Connor yelped. It stuck. Then the attic light went out. Darkness swallowed us whole. We scrambled back down the ladder. nearly tripping over each other. Once we were safely downstairs, I slammed the attic door shut and locked it. "Holy shit," Connor gasped. "Holy shit, holy shit." "That wasn't fake," Megan said, voice small. "That wasn't us." We decided to stay together in the living room for the night. No one dared sleep. Every time we started to calm down, something would remind us. A creak in the ceiling, a whisper behind the walls, footsteps packing slow, dragging patient. But at some point near dawn, we finally drifted off. When I woke the next morning, the attic door was open. None of us had touched it. And sitting on the middle of the upstairs hallway was the Ouija board. The planchette sat perfectly centered atop the board's painted sun, waiting. Things escalated quickly after that. Megan was the first to show signs. Something was wrong. At breakfast, she stared blankly at her cereal bowl, unmoving, spoon suspended in midair. "Megan," I asked. Her head turned toward me, but not naturally. Her chin moved last, dragging behind the rest of her face, like the motion was being puppeted. "You should have said yes," she whispered. What are you talking about?" Her lip twitched. It asked for a trade. Connor leaned forward. "Meg, stop messing around." Her eyes rolled slowly upward until they showed only the whites. Then she slumped forward, face hitting the table. We both jumped to catch her. After a long 30 seconds, she came to, blinking rapidly. "What?" she croaked. "Why are you guys freaking out?" She remembered nothing. Not the voice, not the stare, not the chilling sentence she'd spoken. Nothing at all. By late afternoon, Megan seemed mostly herself, but she kept rubbing her arms as if cold, despite it being warm inside. "We need to destroy the board," I said. "It's messing with us." "You can't destroy a Ouija board," Connor said. "That's like a rule." "It's not real," Megan said, though her voice lacked conviction. "It's just a board." But the attic footsteps started again, this time coming down the stairs. We locked ourselves in the living room, but the board was waiting on the coffee table. None of us had put it there. The planchette was already moving, without hands, without anything touching it. It slid slowly across the board. "Say hello." "No," I said, "we're not doing this." But Megan had gone pale, then visibly swayed. She collapsed onto the couch and clutched her skull. "Stop," she whispered. "Stop talking." "We're not talking," Connor said. "It's in my head," she choked out. Then her voice changed. Not deeper, not higher, just wrong, like two voices woven together. "Let her go." Connor lunged forward to grab her hand, but she shoved him back with a strength that wasn't hers. "Megan," I shouted. She rose slowly to her feet. Her pupils were blown wide, swallowing her irises. "You didn't say goodbye," she said. "You invited me in." Everything happened at once. The lights flickered violently. The board rattled across the table. The planchette flew upward and stuck to the ceiling like it was magnetized. "And Megan," she smiled, But it wasn't her smile. It was too wide, too symmetrical, too knowing. She stepped toward me, each movement sharp, unnatural. "Trade," she whispered. "I only take what I'm owed." Connor grabbed my arm. "We need to leave, now." Megan tilted her head at him. "You'll be last." And then she lunged. What followed felt unreal, like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. We bolted out the front door, sprinting into the yard. Megan didn't follow, but we could hear her inside, laughing, screaming, sometimes both at once. We called 911. But by the time help arrived, Megan was sitting calmly at the table, sipping tea as if nothing had happened. She looked at the paramedics with a sweet smile. "Sorry, my friends get dramatic sometimes." Connor and I stared in horror, because sitting on the table in front of her was the board and the planchette. The planchette was pointing directly at her. The police chalked it up to panic, stress, and miscommunication. They encouraged us to get some sleep, but I knew sleep wasn't the problem. The house was. "There's only one way to end it," Connor said once the officers left. "We say goodbye." "Not with Megan near it," I said. "It wants her." "She's already slipping," he whispered. He was right. Megan swayed constantly, like someone riding an invisible wave. She hummed under her breath a song none of us recognized, a melody that made my skin crawl. At sundown, she disappeared. We tore through the house, searching for her. We found her in the attic, sitting cross-legged in front of the board, carving letters into the wood with her fingernails. Her fingers bled. Her face was empty. "Meg," I shouted. She didn't turn, didn't react, but the planchette moved beneath her hand. "Answer." Connor stepped forward. "Megan, please." Her head jerked toward him with a crack. "Sit." He froze. Her eyes flicked to me. "Trade still stands." "I'm not trading anything," I said. She smiled again. "Then I'll take her." That broke me out of paralysis. "No," I charged forward, but the attic floorboards splintered beneath me, as if grabbed by unseen hands. I stumbled, face-planting hard. Connor screamed behind me. When I looked up, Megan's hand was around his throat, lifting him off the floor with impossible strength. "Say goodbye," she said with two voices. He clawed at her arm, kicking wildly. "Meg, no," I shouted. Her head whipped toward me. "Then say yes." The attic felt like it was collapsing inward. Shadows crawled along the walls. The temperature plummeted. Connor's face purpled. His kicks slowed. "Stop," I shouted. "I'll do it. I'll say yes." Megan froze. The shadows retreated slightly. Her grip loosened. Connor crashed to the floor, gasping. Her eyes locked onto mine. "Good," she whispered. "Take me instead," I said, voice shaking. Megan smiled with pure satisfaction. But the board reacted violently. The planchette whipped across the board. "No." "Why not?" I screamed. "Take me instead." "Want her?" The shadows swelled, filling the corners of the attic. Connor crawled toward me. "We need to say goodbye," he rasped. "How?" I cried. "We're not even touching the board." He grabbed my hand. Together, we shoved our fingers onto the planchette. Megan shrieked, a horrible, animalistic sound. The attic shook. The planchette fought us, jerking, twisting, trying to throw us off. But we pushed, letter by letter. Goodbye. The planchette slammed to the word. Silence exploded through the room. Megan collapsed, unconscious, and the attic light, for the first time in days, stopped flickering. Megan woke in the hospital hours later. She remembered nothing after going into the attic the first time. Nothing about the board, nothing about the entity, but she cried every time she tried to sleep because she dreamed of a voice whispering from under floorboards, a voice calling itself Mother. My aunt returned the next morning. When I told her everything, she didn't doubt a word. She simply whispered, "You opened the attic." I nodded. Tears welled in her eyes. "Lucas, that board doesn't belong to our family. It belonged to the family before us. Everyone warned me never to disturb the attic. That's why I told you not to go there." "Why is it up there?" I asked. She swallowed. "Because the last family abandoned the house after their daughter became possessed." I froze. What happened to her? My aunt looked at me, voice barely above a whisper. She called it Mother too. We never touched a Ouija board again. The attic has been sealed, and my aunt refuses to sell the house because she worries someone else might open the attic and free whatever waiting inside. Megan still dreams about it. Connor moved out of state. I stopped sleeping in the dark. But sometimes, late at night, when the house is very quiet, I swear I still hear a single tap from the floorboards above, like a fingernail, waiting. If you enjoyed tonight's horrifying tale, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Subscribe for more stories that'll keep you awake long after the lights go out. And remember, if you ever find a Ouija board in an attic, a basement, or anywhere it shouldn't be, leave it alone. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, sleep tight